So there's a bit of a playbook for building a consumer brand today. It looks something like getting onto Amazon, signing with influencers, running paid ads, and almost every founder that I talk to is following some version of this because it works, I guess, until it doesn't, and because everyone else is doing it. Now, my guest today has made a point of not following this same conventional playbook. She's built her brand entirely through independent retailers, zero paid advertising, and word of mouth marketing. She's been approached by agencies about launching on Amazon maybe over 100 times, but she said no every single time. She started this business with $40,000 and still owns 100% of the company. Today, we're going to be talking about what it actually looks like to grow a brand without the conventional playbook, and whether the conventional wisdom about how you actually build a consumer brand is actually as solid advice as everyone seems to assume. Welcome to Profits on Purpose, which is a podcast for e-commerce and CPG founders who are navigating the intersection of purpose-led entrepreneurship with the financial realities of needing to generate a profit. I'm your host, Nate Littlewood, founder of Future Ready CFO, where I help e-commerce and CPG founders turn financial chaos and confusion into decision-making confidence. Today's guest is Kate Assaraf, who is the founder and CEO of a brand called Dip. Kate, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this one.
Likewise. I think this is going to be a juicy conversation. We've got a lot to cover. Kate, I always like to get these conversations started with just learning a little bit about you, the backstory. How did this idea come about? Mm-hmm. And if you could, tell me the moment when you realized that you actually needed to build a company around this product idea that you'd had.
Yeah. So, I have been in the beauty industry for about 20 years, and maybe around 11 or 12 years ago, I found out about the horrors of plastic, not just the accumulation, but what was happening to endocrine systems, hormones, aquatic life, all of the other pieces of the plastic nightmare that we're living now. But back then, it was kind of like tinfoil hat territory. It was before it became really mainstream and really in the public knowledge that plastic was doing so much to hurt our health and the health of animals and the earth. And so, for a long time, I tried to reduce plastic myself in all different areas of my life. And for me, the last frontier was hair care. I had a bunch of I'm a little froofy about my hair. It's like the one thing some people like shoes. Some people like all sorts of indulgences or like going out to eat. Mine was I loved fancy hair products. I loved them so much. And so my frustration was I tried every single bar that existed at the time, and none of them seemed to acknowledge the performance side of the hair care. It was very much focused on being plastic free, which is like fine, but like no matter what, I was like projecting out into the world that I was reducing my plastic, but like character is what you do alone. And like in the shower when no one's looking, I was squeezing out really luxurious hair care. And so, there was a little bit of that shame and guilt of, I'm not really, I want to be eco-friendly, but I don't want to look eco-friendly, I guess that was my aha moment where I was like, I know what makes really great hair care. I know, I have the chops to do this myself. This is the problem I'm going to.
Okay. I love that. And the other day when we chatted, you were telling me with a significant amount of pride that you still owned 100% of this business. And I think you said you got it off the ground with about a $40,000 personal investment. Walk me through the early days of launching this. Like, what did it look like to actually, get this thing into the air?
So a lot of starting a company is waiting. I would like the reality is you start something, there's the trademark, there's the waiting for that. Then there's, building the brand, and deciding, what it is and what it isn't. There's waiting and gaps in between. So it's it's kind of like in the very beginning of starting a business, you're looking for the inspiration and trying to pull it from wherever you can,
Hmm.
and going through your own, your own like mental experience of what it's like for me anyway to be a sustainable customer.
Right.
And also as far as like product development, I chose the best chemists that I knew from being in the
Hmm.
industry. And a
Okay.
lot of that time is waiting between samples. Sometimes you get like 4 or 5
Mm.
samples of different formulas at a time. And like a lot of that, the beginning of starting a company has a lot of waiting and a lot of,
Hmm.
it's almost like, um, it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it feels unreal, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, my husband and I are both been in the beauty industry separately for 20 years.
Hmm.
We both are he does like branding and design, and I've always done sales
Yep.
and marketing. So we don't have overlapping skills, but we had all of the
Nice.
elements to kind of save money to start the business.
Yep.
And we basically we have 2 kids and we decided we were gonna work while they slept. So in the beginning,
Wow.
that's basically how we did it. I tragically, I don't know what's wrong with my mental alarm clock, but I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every day, and that's when I
Okay.
get most of my I don't know how to
Right.
turn this button off, like, I don't wanna
Uh-huh.
wake up that early, but that is when I do my best work. So
Yep.
I did most of my work before the family even, you know, got out of bed,
Yep.
and that's what the beginning really looks like. The reality is not glamorous, there's no cool office or there's just an idea and the space in between work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to get into talking about, what's happened after that.
Mm,
Because one of the things I found really intriguing about our conversation the other day when we chatted is the approach you've taken on go to market and sales channels and retail partners and the impact or implications of those decision
yeah.
set on how you've actually financed the business. Before we get there, though, tell me about Amazon. A lot of brands and products in this space would be, all over themselves to get onto Amazon and probably thinking about it as quite an important sales channel. You've said no to Amazon a lot
Mhm.
of times, and I gather a lot of different ways. Why is that? Why is Amazon not a good fit for your brand?
So because my brand, because dip is so, um, it's very important to me that not only does someone um, find dip in the right channel, so
Hmm.
zero waste stores or salons or surf shops, those independent retailers rely on people coming back and shopping there again.
Mm,
And so my goal is really to get with dip, it's bigger than shampoo and conditioner. I want someone to go into these stores and find, dip because that's what they went there for and almost have like the target effect where they find like other sustainable swaps or other things that
hmm.
kinda lead them to sustainability without all of the guilt and without all of the nagging that you see in sustainable marketing, and
Hmm.
so, it's a love letter to my independent retailers who are really a big part of this fibrous network of getting dip into end consumers' hands, like, it's that I
Yeah.
don't on Amazon because have I some some of our retailers are doing 50 to $100,000 worth of dip sales a year in their
Wow.
independent stores.
Yeah,
And
it's amazing.
and sometimes you only need to buy dip once for the conditioner bar a year or maybe 3 times for the shampoo bar. So
Mm,
imagine if someone decides to not go into store and buy something on Amazon instead, that
mm,
store has lost maybe 2 years of that customer coming back to return to buy dip. So
mhm.
I added the friction point. As a love letter to our customers and and our store owners.
Yep.
And I don't think putting your products on Amazon is like a moral litmus test. It's not that at all, and I don't think shopping
Mhm,
on Amazon is something that, um, makes a good or bad person.
mhm.
I think almost everyone, whether they wanna admit it or not, is a closet Amazon shopper, and
Yeah.
I think that, as a brand, I just wanna lead by example and show that you can support independent retailers and thrive at the same time.
Interesting, interesting. So it's not so much that you've said no to Amazon. I think what I'm hearing here is more that you said yes to independent retailers,
Yes.
and you recognize that working with these sort of partners to also be on Amazon would be, kind of undermining that relationship. Am I hearing you correctly there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I don't have a big distance between myself and my retailers. I know many of them very well. I
Mm.
know I know their names, I know their
Yeah.
kids' names, I know their spouses, I know their employees. I
Mm.
even though we're in between 4 and 500 stores right now, I
Yeah.
know a lot of them really well, and I take a lot of pride in that kind of human connectivity
Mhm.
and I don't know, the I love the rehumanizing of commerce with
Mhm.
them
Mhm.
as with my teammates in it. W
Interesting.
I just think it's a more fulfilling way to run a business,
Yep.
um, because I think otherwise, if you're building in like, in a silo, it's a recipe for loneliness even as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. 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 I love the way you put that. It's interesting. So I get it. I understand the interest and desire to support and work with these independent retailers. As I think you know, I'm a fractional CFO, and you're not
Mhm.
going to get away without some numbers questions here. So tell me a little bit about the numbers side of this. Like a lot of founders or brands in your situation would be working with, distributors and bigger retailers, and is there anything you can share about like the unit economics and costs, and do a compare and contrast of what your go-to-market strategy is costing you in terms of numbers versus what the more, should we call it, conventional path would look like?
Well, the first thing to acknowledge is that I did start with a contract manufacturer in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so eventually, because that contract manufacturer went bankrupt, and so
Oh, wow.
I had to make a decision. Do I find another contract manufacturer and put my like very specialized formulas at risk with,
Yeah.
with that contract manufacturer not having the same exclusivity deals that I had with the initial one that went bankrupt? Or
Mm-hmm.
do I start my own factory? And so
Mm-hmm.
seems like ridiculous. Like I started my own factory of those two choices.
Wow. Okay. I didn't
So,
realize you were doing this in-house.
oh no, yeah. So now we're a vertical business, and I had
Huh.
to learn very quickly
Okay.
manufacturing laws and all of the all of the things like all of the pieces of being a USA manufacturer that I didn't know before.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that was in 2022, early
Mm.
2022. I very early on in the business, I had to make this decision. And
Mm.
so what it comes down to is I don't have to scale because that margin that used to cut like the margins got bigger for me because I didn't have someone else making it.
Yep.
Um, and so it actually ended up being a very good financial decision because of that. I'm not paying the upcharge on what
Okay.
a contract manufacturer would cost. So in that sense, like the smartest decision I ever made was that giant risk that kept me up at night every night forever.
Yep. Yep.
So
Ok- Okay, so I want to break this down a little bit further because I think it's quite an important topic here.
Mhm.
If we start with, the price that the customer pays in retail, obviously that there's
Yeah.
a retailer's margin which has to come off
Mhm.
the top.
Yeah.
Then typically you'd have a distributor's margin as well, which might be
Mhm.
another, I don't know, 10 or 15%. And what you're saying is because of the way that you sell this product, you're not subject to that distribution margin that a lot of other brands would be paying. But then as we go a little bit further into the cost structure and margins, there's, the price at which you would sell into the distributor. A lot of brands would pay a co-manufacturer to,
Right.
produce a product for you. But what you're paying to DIY it is effectively less because you basically are your own contract
Right.
manufacturer. What I'm interested to understand here, Kate, and yeah, you may or may not have the numbers on this and be willing to share. And if not, that's okay. But there's two important areas where your margin's a bit different to other brands. One is that you don't have that distribution fee. The
Right.
other is that you don't have the contract manufacturer markup or margin.
Right.
Do you have a sense for how much of your profit comes from each of them?
Well, so I do, but I also it's important to recognize that I also ship from my own facility, so I don't have the
Okay.
3PL costs either. So I
Wow.
have
Okay.
thing
Mm,
is but that wasn't how I built it. How I built it was anticipating these other costs in the distribution model. So as
yeah.
everyone else's prices went up, mine actually, like, of course, like, a lot of the cost of the materials have gone up and filled in that gap, but I've been
Hmm.
in the business a long time. Like, I knew about pricing with distribution and with wholesale
Yeah.
embedded into the cost. So, I'm glad I didn't make the classic entrepreneurial mistake of pricing it in a way that would cannibalize myself. Um,
Right. Right.
but, as far as like, it was a gift to start my own manufacturer. It's as expensive as it was up front. Eventually, it
Yeah.
became a gift, like, because
Yeah.
I got to amortize the cost of rebuilding from scratch
Yeah.
into the whole process.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I've asked you a bunch of questions about the finance and number side of things, but I'd also be curious to understand some of the non-financial benefits of this. You touched on it a moment ago when you were talking about the relationships that you have with some of these retailers. Help me understand, what are some of the other, maybe softer or more strategic benefits that you have realized because of the way that you've set all this up?
Well, first of all, the refill community is very dear to me, and refill or
Hmm.
zero waste store community. They're all networked with each
Yeah.
other, and they're very dear to me because I am a customer that shops in that type of store. And
Hmm.
I know that shampoo and conditioner can't save the whole movement, right? Like, I
Hmm.
need people to go in and experience the other things that these stores have to offer, that do all of the homework on ingredients and everything for customers. But for me, because, you know, f I haven't run a digital ad yet, but,
Mm.
I took what would have been my marketing budget and, took did retreats with our store owners. And that was
Hmm.
really cool because from people
Wow.
all not only did I visit stores where they are, like Virginia, Ohio, California, I went all over the
Mm.
country, visiting stores, but then I really grew a relationship with some of these people, and then I would host retreats where the store owners, like,
Wow.
brands, like, really love to throw money at influencers. For me, my biggest influencers are the store owners. So
Yeah,
we call them
that is so
dip.
clever.
So I took a group to Morocco for 2 weeks, and that was really fun. We had it, like,
Wow.
all like, it was just so it was amazing. Like, imagine
Damn.
spending I could have spent the money on Meta ads, but I
Mm.
didn't. Spent it on the people that really helped me grow my business. And we did all sorts of weird stuff, like, we went to the Sahara, we went and, like, camped, and, we went to, I don't know, the most beautiful mosque in the world. Like, we went everywhere. It was so
Mm.
cool. And I did 10 of my top stores. I took them to the Dominican Republic on a surf trip. And, we got to really, like, get to know each other. Some of them, it was the first time they had ever surfed. But
Yeah.
these store owners are, like, totally ignored by brands. Like,
Mm.
and meanwhile, the brands are like, will find, digital personalities. I really love the personalities that help, like, grow my business. And so I
Mm.
took a big group. We did, like, a summer camp in the Catskills, and that was
Mm.
super fun. And, like, we keep it eco-friendly. Like, we had a whole, it was, like, really funny. We had a stone skipping competition that, like, everyone was like, was into. I officially know who's really good at skipping stones. And a lot of these people know each other only from, like, Instagram. So when they all get
Yeah.
together, they have so much to talk about the business, and, like, by
Yeah.
accident, all of this other knowledge about sustainability and how to run this kind of store, like, it all kind of,
Yeah.
came together. And then most recently we went to Tennessee. Um, and and yeah, it's part of the business, it's part of the fiber of, like, I think it's part of just wanting to get people together and have a good time, especially
Mm.
when so much of that has been lost. Like, is
Yeah.
it throwing parties anymore? I don't even know.
That is freaking genius. I love that.
Oh,
You're
thanks.
making me
It's
wanna you're making me wanna become a dip retailer. I wonder if I can
Oh,
add them to
man.
my website somewhere.
Total dip trip
Okay,
really fun.
there's a lot to soak in here.
Yeah.
This is really freaking clever. So basically, what I'm hearing is so many other brands are throwing money at Meta and Google and God knows TikTok, wherever, and prices of clicks and attention are only going up, and I think they'll probably only
Right.
continue to go up as AI, gets more and more
Yeah.
extensive. What you're doing is basically building relationships with the people in the stores, the people who are talking to the customers. You're essentially treating them like royalty, like they
Yeah,
matter and that they're
they
special and
are.
that you care. And you're basically making brand ambassadors out of them. And whenever anyone comes into their shop, like, guess who's going to be the first brand they talk about?
Yeah,
And they'll know the founder, they'll know your full story. That is so
and
so clever.
they're fun. Like you
Yeah,
know, it's fun to. I do think entrepreneurship stinks a little bit. I think
yeah,
it's kind of
uh huh,
lonely. It's not that
yep,
fun.
mm-hmm,
But you can make it fun by finding your
mm,
people and making it a good time.
yep,
And there's so many opportunities that I think are missed by companies to
mm,
really celebrate the people that help build your brand. And for me,
mm,
I knew because I am a refiller. Like I just love the community because the
mm-hmm,
type of person that owns a refillery, it's really a rock and roll kind of business to start in the days of
right,
hyper consumption, like trying to get someone to refill the laundry
yeah,
detergent.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. I
mm-hmm,
want to get people into that type of store. Um,
mm-hmm,
and I'll use dip to do it.
mm. Okay, I love that. Very cool, very cool. Tell me about greenwashing. I understand it's a topic that you have a pretty strong opinion on. What's wrong with sustainability messaging in the beauty industry today, and what are you doing about it?
So greenwashing is like for me, it's not truth telling. It's like skirting the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that you can trust a customer or you can trust someone with a full brain to make the proper assessment given if you give them the right bit of information. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of brands that are considered sustainable that remain in plastic. And I find that a little bit comical
Mm-hmm.
because I find that plastic is the number one kind of villain on the earth. If I was a superhero and I had one villain, it would be plastic. It's like
Right.
not anything else. And
Okay.
so I want people to understand, like, there's something that people come after me a lot for is, like, synthetic fragrance, and they
Okay.
say that synthetic fragrance equals bad, but that's
Right.
not exactly true, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, essential oils equals sustainable, but it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
You can build, synthetic fragrances and trust science and that the science can take out the phthalates and, like, a lot of the allergens, or you can
Mm-hmm.
go fully to sit at the church of essential oils and not realize that pesticides are used, labor is
Mm.
used, land mass is used, like the amount of plants you need to have to get a few drops of essential oils. When you really think about what that looks like when like say an
Yep.
essential oil becomes very trendy and what the global hunger for that essential oil is, what it does to a farm, it's incredible, like, when you think about it, but a lot of
Mm.
people don't think that way. They think in, like, synthetic bad, natural good, and
Yep.
I don't think that way, and I don't expect consumers to really understand that, but as a
Mm.
company, we're very honest about why we've chosen synthetics, and,
Mm-hmm.
if more companies were honest about how they made their decisions,
Yep.
then they don't have to worry about greenwashing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And you, for those who are listening on YouTube, by the way, or watching on YouTube, I should
Sure.
say, I'm actually screen sharing Kate's website at the moment. I noticed there's this interesting dead stock section of your site where I gather what you're doing is taking dead stock packaging and putting your product into it. Tell me a little bit more about this. How did this come about, and how's it
Sure.
going?
So, I was in the right place at the right time. I went
Okay.
to I was in a place where I overheard someone saying they were getting rid of tens of thousands of bottles, plastic bottles. They
Mm.
were gonna go to a landfill, and
Yeah.
they were ugly bottles, to be honest. They were really like
Right.
but
Okay. Is this one of them here that we're looking at now?
yeah, I find that bottle very ugly. Like, my
Okay.
brand is very pastel and
Ah, I
cutesy
see. Okay.
and beautiful. So this is like a
Yep.
black bottle, and there's other ones, there's like a
Okay.
gold and a purple. There's a whole mix of bottles because I keep
Okay.
bringing in other ones. But basically, a brand that had been storing these bottles for maybe 15 years was trying
Mhm.
to eventually, because warehousing empty bottles. It's not like they fold flat like paper. Like it just takes up a lot of cubic feet and they have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so they were just going to dump all these bottles into a landfill. And I was like, I'll take them,
Hmm.
And so before I did that, I had this formula for an enzyme spray that I really, really loved. And basically what an enzyme spray is a shower in a bottle. It cannot be done in a solid format. And it was
Hmm.
already stability tested for plastic.
Hmm.
So I was able to take plastic and the plastic that was gonna go to a landfill and give it
Hmm.
one more life, and, someone can
Yeah.
do what they want to, but it's really fun to not have to make new plastic and
Yep.
also have, like, I call it Grateful dead stock, but in the beginning when we were, like, ideating on it, they used to have, like, the Jerry Bear collar, like Grateful Dead,
Yeah.
but they got all, like, bent during transit, so we had to scrap that idea.
That's such a clever idea. I love that. I've never seen a brand do that before. Very cool.
I don't think well, I trademarked it because I don't think anyone's done that before. Like, beauty brands are pretty, like, hoity-toity and precious about their
Yeah.
brands, and I thought it
Yeah.
was really funny to have
Yeah.
these brands and these bottles and, like, have the explanation be like, "Yeah, we
Yep.
know they're ugly, but
Yep.
this out. This is what this is what we have them for."
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. You're doing some interesting stuff here, Kate. It's really, really
Uh,
intriguing. I want to talk a little bit about the intersection of your purpose, mission, values,
Mhm.
and the finance and profitability side.
Sure.
So, as a founder, I'm guessing, I mean, it's clear already that you have a very strong set of values and principles that you are building this business around. But
Mhm.
as a founder and someone who's, ideating and developing these products, I'm sure you must have come into contact with a situation where you had a decision to make about importing an ingredient, a material, or a packaging, whatever, and it was going to cost you more than what an alternative might cost, a more, let's call it conventional alternative, but perhaps less sustainable alternative. And I don't know what the extra cost was. It might have been a cent, 10 cent, 20 cent a unit. I have no idea.
Mhm.
But there was no doubt a question in your mind at some point where you had to ask yourself, is my customer going to be willing to pay for this? Like, I'm
Right.
about to pay an extra 20 cents per unit for this. Am I going to be able to recoup that from my customers? Tell me, has that ever happened to you? What was the decision and how did you navigate through it?
So, it has happened to me, but luckily so one of the things is, like, it's so much cheaper to print boxes overseas than it is to
Hmm.
domestically print paper boxes because everything else,
Yep.
we don't have a lot of packaging and we don't have a lot of um, extras. But for me, it
Right.
was very important to I studied economics and I am watching in horror as the economy is, let's just say it's
Yeah.
flounder, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is a nice way to put it. Everyone likes a
Yeah.
flounder, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to to pay for American made, American printed boxes.
Hmm.
And, the customer doesn't know where the boxes are made. It doesn't it might not necessarily matter to them, but they are way more expensive here
Yep.
they are overseas. I mean, that's just a fact. And
Hmm.
so, that was one of those things. But again, because I had that happy, really terrible time when my contract manufacturer went bankrupt and I had to
Mm.
start my own factory, like
Hmm.
margins I recouped meant that I'd never had to raise prices or put any of that on the customer. Like,
Yep.
for me, like, it's way, way more important to keep our pricing where it is. It's already
Hmm.
high. And it's not high considering what the cost of goods is, but it is high compared to
Right.
other brands. And,
Okay.
I don't know, like, I don't know how they're building their bars. I know it's none of my business how they're doing it. I just know how I'm doing it, and I know that our pricing is fair, and because
Yeah.
I've, like, made the bars last as long as possible, it feels fair to the customer as well.
Yep. Yep. Okay. I hear you. I hear you. Going back to the in-house manufacturing, I wanted to ask you about the working capital implications of that And what I mean is that most brands who work with a co-man are going to have some type of MOQ, right? It might be 1,000 units, might be 10,000 units. And they need to be able to front up the cash to buy, a production run at a time. And
Yeah.
then they'll take in that inventory and they might, sell through it over subsequent 3 or 4 months. Now, holding and investing in that inventory is usually quite an expensive exercise, and the consumption of cash that it requires can be a bit of a constraint on growth, particularly for a bootstrap brand where cash
Mhm.
is very, very tight. I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the working capital benefits of doing this in-house. Like what are we talking about in terms of MOQs and scale? And do you have a sense for metrics like your inventory coverage and how much stock do you actually need to leave on hand at any given time in order to be, always in stock and always able to ship?
So for me, for the brand, those conversations matter more when you're outsourcing manufacturing, right? So
Okay.
and because I started with a contract manufacturer, I was able to negotiate, and I had been in the business for a very long time and I had a
Mm,
relationship. I was able to negotiate very small MOQs. Like,
hmm.
because we had 7 cents and a fragrance free version of our bars. And so I
Yeah.
think I got the MOQs down to like 250 for of each
Wow.
for a first run. And that was because they believed in what I was doing, and that
Yeah.
was because they knew me. It wasn't like I'm
Hmm.
gonna make 50 and then, like, decide, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this anymore." They
Hmm.
invested in me just as much as I invested in them, and,
Yeah.
it was a heartbreaker actually when that contract manufacturer went under, and
Hmm.
so, now I have some of those displaced workers work for me now, and they're amazing, and so the levers on how much inventory I need or don't need, this is like the crew that makes dip. They are so well versed in production that they manage all of that for me. Um,
Hmm.
and so because we make it, because we're the manufacturer, we just make it as we need it. It's not
Right.
like there's no PO anymore. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you actually manage it? I mean, is there a system that is triggering some sort of production alert when the stock gets down to a certain level? Like
And
how does that
my
all
my
work?
team all it's literally my team all have eyes, so they can see, like,
Right.
they can
They're
not
looking
me.
at the shelves. That's low. Okay, we need that.
It's as
Right.
simple as that, and
Okay.
I would love for it to be more complicated, but not really. Like, it is
Yeah.
and that's because we're still small enough. I'm not that interested in scaling to a point where it becomes so chaotic for my employees that they can't keep up and they're working around the clock. Like, right now, it's a very comfortable flow for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and
Okay.
it's great, actually.
I mean, it sounds like an amazing business to be managing and running, and I
I love it.
love the simplicity of all of this. But my question for you is how far can this actually scale? I mean, this version of the company, how big do you think it can actually get? And is the answer to that question adequate for you, or do you want to grow beyond that?
So growth isn't really my goal, but
Uh-huh.
I know it's a goal for a lot of people. It's not the thing that really drives me, but I
Uh-huh.
think, and I'm not trying to sound pretentious, but the impact is more important to me. So,
Yeah.
as right now, as of today, we've redirected over $5 million into local economies through our
Wow.
independent retailers. That is
Hmm.
such a good feeling as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it
Yeah.
really is lifting all the boats, right? Like, we're doing
Mm.
it together, and it feels like a team sport where,
Mm.
where my retailers are able to succeed, and so am I, and so is my team. And
Mm.
so growth isn't really the mission, I guess, but it's not I'm
Mm.
not would be lying if I said I wouldn't want to scale this more and see more independent retailers and salon owners
Mm.
like succeed and thrive with dip. So the
Mm.
the next phase is we've never advertised before, but we're going to start advertising, and a lot of that is going
Mm-hmm.
to, redirect people into stores. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
the mission, like, I have to be able to reach more people. I think I've taken it um as far as word of mouth can go, and I love
Mm-hmm.
it. It's like my own little personal thing that I
Yeah.
wanted, if I could build an authentic word of mouth brand, but I
Yeah.
think I owe it to my team to grow it to a part to another level where we can all kind of, um, walk down the street, people know like what dip is and what it stands for, and I think that's going to
Mm.
be a cool time.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me more about this advertising decision. How have you determined that now is the right time to be doing that? You mentioned that word of mouth had gotten you as far as you can, but like,
Yeah.
what are you looking at to know that?
So without advertising, dip would be fine. Like if Meta and
Right.
TikTok shut down, dip would still survive and it would be fine.
Okay.
However, I'm watching around the country, refill stores especially are closing left and right, and people,
Mm.
they don't have the marketing budget to get people into their stores. So I
Mm-hmm.
am fine with like, because they do such an amazing job getting people to buy dip. I'm happy to do that investment to get people into their doors. So that
Mm.
there's a lift there. It's really like, for me, that's the goal. I want to get people, it's be like beyond shampoo and conditioner. I want people to go into a zero waste store and see all of the
Mm.
other swaps they can make that have been
Mm-hmm.
vetted. They don't have to sit through like a bunch of digital pollution and AI, UGC, and like all this stuff to
Yeah.
find something that works and works well for them,
Mm-hmm.
for their own health and their own like plastic free journey,
Mm.
or plastic
Mm-hmm.
reducing journey. And so
Mm.
it's actually, I would have happily never advertised, but the reality is I want these stores to survive, and I don't think anyone else is gonna do this for them.
Yeah.
And I wanna see them thrive, and when they
Mm.
thrive, I thrive. It's not all altruism.
Yeah.
It's we
It's
thrive
beautiful.
together.
It's
So,
beautiful. I love it. I love it.
thanks.
So you put 40 grand in, I think you said initially,
Oh,
and have not taken any outside investors. My understanding is you own the thing 100%. Two questions.
sure.
Why is that? Why have you been so adamant to maintain control? And are there ever times where you feel lonely and wish
Mhm.
that you had a partner or someone else, co-owner alongside you?
Okay, so the first question was what was the first question?
Why is maintaining
Oh,
100% control
yeah.
so important to you?
Oh, 'cause I mean, no investor would love the way I run my business.
Okay.
It's not here for growth, it's here for impact. I don't think
Right.
that is something that's very exciting for an investor to hear. They want the return,
Mm. Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
wanted to prove that it was a viable business the way I was running it first,
Mhm.
before, anyone could come in and kind of muddy up what they think I should do, to
Yeah.
build. That was really important to me. I didn't want the mud and the
Mhm.
cloud
Mhm.
in my judgment. That would
Mhm.
absolutely come from someone whose main priority is wanting growth,
Yeah.
and return. And then the other thing is it ever lonely? No. So one of my first businesses, I had a partner, and
Mhm.
it did not end well. And I can't really say much about it, but I do not ever want to have a partner again.
Okay.
It's I think what a lot of women do, and I fell into this trap, is that they want like the camaraderie of like someone to do this with, to build with. And sometimes you're not always aligned on all things. Like getting a business partner is like entering a marriage. And I
Mm.
didn't quite understand that when I was starting.
Mhm.
In that other business, of course, that business doesn't exist anymore. But like I didn't realize how like paperworky this union was with this other
Right.
person. And so, it's probably the most expensive lesson I ever learned in entrepreneurship, is that you cannot share your passion with someone else. Like
Hmm.
if you are the main driver of, the mission, the passion, the sales, the marketing, like it's better to hire someone to fill in the
Mm.
gaps, um
Mhm. Mhm.
on what you think your shortcomings are, instead of making another person a partner, because it I think that's, again, you're playing in the mud a little bit.
Mm. That's really profound.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know whether it's profound. I think it's like
No, it is. It is. I mean, you can't. I mean, I think what I'm hearing is that you are kind of unique in terms of your values and your mission and, everything that you believe in. And it's really hard to force exact alignment on another person. And if
That's
you can't
exactly
get that other person to be 100% aligned in the things that you believe in, then essentially what you're saying is that you should have them as an employee rather than a co-founder, right?
and you're
Yeah.
definitely more profound than me right there because you extracted that beautifully. I think
Okay.
it was
Good.
great.
I'm glad I heard you correctly.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's like one of those things that you do like, and I don't know whether men do it as often as women do, but women want a teammate. And
Mm,
I really discovered through that first entrepreneurship journey that like I might be a lone wolf.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
it's
Well,
okay.
it sounds like you've had a fascinating ride here, Kate. And one of my big takeaways from this conversation, and something that um, a thought or idea that you're going to be leaving me with today, is that entrepreneurship is a really, really hard game, and it's tough and it's stressful, and you're going to get beaten up. But what I love about the way that you're building this business is you've kind of invented your own world and ecosystem and done it in a way that has made it fun for you. And it's like, okay, I'm not here to necessarily double or quadruple my profit. I'm here to have fun, and I want to design a business, including how I sell it, how I produce it, how I manage my team. Like, I want it to work for me because I have to live this life 5 or I don't know, maybe 7 days a week here in the business. I don't know. But like,
7 days.
I love that you have designed and architected all this in a way that kind of optimizes something that's fun for you to run.
If
And
it's
it's
not
not
fun, there's no point, honestly.
exactly. Yeah, I'm into that.
Because entrepreneurship is not fun. I don't think anyone would describe it as fun. It's only as fun as you can make it, which is a very
Yeah.
different statement.
Yeah. Well, we do need to wrap things up, but uh, yeah, very interesting thought. Very interesting thought. Kate, where should folks go if they would like to learn more about you or the business?
If you'd like to learn more about me, I suppose you can go on LinkedIn and connect with me. I'm happy to talk to you. Just don't try and sell me anything, okay? Won't,
Okay.
that's number one. But if you wanted to know more about Dip, you can go to dipalready.com. I
Yep.
encourage you to go to the store locator and find a spot closest to you so you can do some real
Yep.
deep diving without me involved in it
Yep.
at all. And then if you want to check out the socials at Dip Already on Instagram, that's where I kind of lurk in the DMs, and
Yep.
also at Dip Already on TikTok.
Okay, perfect. And if you are going to go into a store, maybe don't bring up the retreat that Kate was talking about earlier, just in case, it's an awkward moment. Maybe they didn't get an invite. I'm sure that if they were on the retreat, they will tell you all about it. And if that happens, by all means ask. But, we don't want to give rise to any awkward moments with these retailers. They're all lovely people, so don't upset them. Anyway, Kate, lovely to have you on. Thanks so much for the conversation. I've really, really enjoyed speaking with you, and I'm sure the audience has enjoyed hearing your story as well. And, you've taught us that you don't always need to follow the path and, copy what everyone else is doing. And you've built a beautiful business here, and you've done it on your own terms. You've done it in a way that's fun, and I have a lot of respect for that. So thank you for coming on and sharing the story. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.